Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Deputy. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. A very complicated Valentine's Day, it seems, because obviously, Paula is working at a corrections facility, and, it turns out as she's there, it turns into a hostage situation because this guy she was looking after, someone that she's actually kind of built a little bit of a rapport with, his name is David. It turns out he's getting sick, and because of the way the system is, the operation that would be necessary to save his life would only take 45 minutes, but Paula's put in request after request, but after 6 months they're still not giving a leeway to be set her up to be able to give him the proper treatment. So David decides to take it into his own hands, in particular his girlfriend Rose. We never actually found out where she actually got the uniform, right? Because it says Williams and stuff like that, so it could just be a thing of either she must have made it just for this day, because they end up revealing it later on that they've been planning this for a while. And obviously the situation gets Bill heated because Bill is like, yo, Paula's in danger, I gotta get down there, I gotta be at the forefront of this whole situation. It's an interesting dilemma because obviously Rose is doing this out of love for David, but then there's on the other side of things you have Bill doing this because he loves Paula. Because the interesting thing is Rose and David have done enough homework. They knew that hey, she would be I guess David never knew, because Rose is like, oh, you didn't think we knew, because it must mean because obviously I think it's a thing of you probably don't want to tell too many inmates that you're the current sheriff's wife. You probably don't want to put yourself in that situation. But the fact of the matter is that not only did they need someone like Paula, but they also needed someone like Bill. So taking Paula in particular, because it's a great opportunity, but also her being Bill's wife means okay, we got the sheriff's wife, so they can have a little more leeway with what they need to. Obviously, Bill is kind of flustered because he's he can't really act, can't really do anything right now. He keeps calling Paula someone, because Paula was the person on the other line is trying to talk to. She was trying not to reveal obviously who Bill is, because she was probably most likely trying to make it seem oh, the sheriff must be calling my phone. Try not to let their connection be known. And obviously this is turning into a kind of media frenzy on the outside, but also what complicates it is because Rose makes it clear oh, we know, Paula, you are the sheriff's. So obviously because Bill had actually told Bishop to make it so that none of the news medias breathe a word of Paula's name, because he knew that if this got spread, he didn't want this information to end up getting back to the bad guys in case they were listening. But also, it didn't come in conversation, but obviously it's also because he doesn't want his daughter flipping out about it, which obviously because of the news and everything she finds out, because obviously they emailed the video of them getting Paula, because once again, this was meant to be a statement, because it is kind of a Romeo and Juliet, more like Bonnie and Clyde, since we're on the criminal angle side of things. But they're also doing this as a statement because oh, the only reason why we're going this far is because the system is broken. The fact of the matter is so many other people would get looked after if we were anywhere else, but because my man is a prisoner, he's in prison and stuff like that, he gets treated like dirt. Obviously the whole point of prison is you're supposed to be at least treated, there's at least a form of humanity, but he's sitting here dying from this illness, which essentially it's basically a tumor inside of him. Hence why they need Paula. And the fact of the matter is, because it seems David, at the very least, is kind of we don't want anyone to get hurt. It's funny you say that, considering the fact is there's a dead sheriff's deputy. But I guess it's kind of we all get one, right? I guess it's kind of what his, because he never talks about that. But I guess it wasn't necessarily part of the plan. But he caught Rose. It's you could have injured him or anything, but it's I guess she didn't want to take any chances. It seems like she came in here a little more bloodthirsty than he did. But who am I to judge? Like I said, you get it, you feel, because it's hey, this is someone you love that's in danger, and you're trying to help them out. I know another interesting side of this is obviously the whole Charlie and Joseph situation, because she was oh, I didn't know you cared so much about Paula. The fact is you're going I didn't know you and Paula had a relationship like that. And for Joseph, it's she's a second mom to him, because the fact of the matter is she's she believes in me and believed in me even when my own mom didn't. Because whereas her own his mom was probably reluctant about the whole because obviously she doesn't want him to follow in his father's footstep, but Paula probably is no. And it might not even just be about the whole officer situation. It might be like other aspects as well, but we didn't really dive into that. I just thought that was kind of an interesting, conversation to have. And obviously at the same time this is all going down, Jerry's telling Bill like maybe you should step away, but Bill's like, well, yeah, there's no written book on how to handle a hostage situation when your wife's involved, but he's like, we're writing this down as we go. So it's like it's got a play it by ear type of situation. So obviously, the whole point was to set it up so like another a military medic could go up there so he could get Paula as well as a few other hostages. But Paula was like, no, like if my team is up here, then I'm going to stay up here, which obviously Bill is like, there's ain't no time to debate, Paula. You got to come home. But, and because that's the thing. Because, truth be told is, and that showed Paula is just like Bill, because Bill's just as stubborn too. If it was him in that situation, if his deputy was up there, he'd be like, I'm not leaving until all my deputies are out of here. So obviously Paula's going to stay with the rest of her team. So obviously they send up the equipment. Because I also like the fact is, it's like, because Paula was on the phone with him and he was like, I know they want you to perform a surgery, they want medical equipment. She's like, how you know? It's like, I didn't get this job just for my looks and everything. It just also showed, because Bill quickly figured this out because he put it together. He's like, David's sick. The fact of the matter is they picked Paula specifically because for surgical training. So they're going to need equipment because this place isn't fully equipped for it. Because, I was wondering how they were going to have that situation. Me being an idiot, I didn't even think about like, all right, just bring the medical equipment to you. Because I was like, are you going to try to get to because there's a hospital with proper equipment like across the street or whatever I think they were saying. But nevertheless, it is kind of crazy because obviously Rose is like, because David's like, no, it's going to be okay because I'm in good hands, I trust you. And then immediately after he's under, what does Rose say? If anything goes wrong, you're dead. It's like, how is that fair? Paula literally told you this is not the proper place. For real, you'd have to also make sure like all the equipment is clean. It's not the most, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's not the most germ-free zone because obviously like anything could go wrong in a surgery at the sterilized place. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the equipment can be sterilized, but can you really do that in kind of it's not meant for this. It's not meant for these surgeries and stuff like that. But I guess because it is a prison, maybe it's kept sterilized enough for it to be okay. I was actually surprised David's surgery went off without a hitch. I assumed that was going to go bad. But it was really interesting because because obviously Paula was trying to get Rose to kind of let down her guard a little bit to kind of be like, okay, I get it. Like, me, because obviously like it's kind of an interesting situation because it's like, well, the fact of the matter is she didn't bring this up, but obviously it's been brought up before in different episodes was the fact is how Paula and Bill actually met. She met when he got stabbed, and that's the first time they met. But obviously, she talks about their date not being like their more traditional date. They were actually in the backyard firing guns. So it's like the beginning what we saw. I guess that's like their recurring anniversary. It's just kind of like repeating like their first quote unquote date. And obviously, Rose can be like, yeah, the fact of the matter is me and David are kind of in the same circumstance. We couldn't have a traditional date, but it's like she loves him, and obviously she'd go through hell and back for him, hence why she's going as far as she has gone. So, but like I said, I was surprised the surgery went, especially because that one nurse that was working with her kind of messed up. But it's like, yeah, she's not properly trained for this. Yeah, you got me, but you don't have a whole bunch of people who are properly trained in how to handle this situation. And you having a gun, obviously it doesn't make this any easier. So you're putting more added pressure on everybody. But like I said, luckily on that front, everything turns out okay. And so because of that, while this is all happening, Bill is coming up with a plan. Like, in exchange for Paula and the others, you get me. I'm sheriff. I can get you a lot further than Paula can. So and he does this in front of the camera. Sadly, Maggie's seeing this on TV. She already had the conversation with her dad about bringing her mom home. And it's like, but he's like, let me be your hostage because I can take you a lot further. And it's like, because he knew that was the fastest way to get to them, but especially making it such a public thing too. So I was like, that's pretty brazen because it was like, oh yeah, about to do something irresponsible or drastic. I can't remember what Bill had said exactly. So now it turns into a situation of Bill he's going to turn himself over, and obviously Paula gets ready to be exchanged. And I love, like, as Bill was heading towards the I forgot what he had said to Kate. He had said something to Kate about like, you know, it's been good serving with you or working with you. And Kate's like, okay, so you're just telling me that just to piss me off. And he was like, yeah, because that's when you do your best work. So at the same time, he's walking up and he's telling Jerry, it's like, the fact of the matter is, you just might get that position of sheriff. But even Jerry was like, not today and not like this, Bill. Because obviously he brings up earlier in the episode about the whole thing about like, he's like telling Bill to kind of like, yeah, fact of the matter is once your 3 months are up, I'm going to run. I just want to have your backing and stuff like that. The fact of the matter is you don't want this to get nasty. And he's like, oh, so it was going to get nasty. And Jerry is like, so does that mean you're going to run? So obviously, you know, Bill would do it just to spite Jerry. But obviously, to be fair, Jerry's going through a lot, which is like interesting because this episode kind of deals a lot with relationships and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, Jerry's literally going through a divorce because for him, he's like, just stick with me a little bit. You get everything we've been working so hard for. I can be sheriff. I'm going to make sure I run for sheriff so it can finally be mine because Bill's time is out in 3 months. But for her, it's like she put so much of her life on hold, not just because of this whole sheriff thing. Whether he becomes sheriff or not, it's not the point. It's like this life hasn't been the best for her to live her life. She put off having children, like every aspect of her life. And it's like, give me the opportunity to move on, but also yourself. And so Jerry reluctantly signs. I'm surprised. I mean, to be fair, this is something we've been sitting on since, I want to say like the first episode is when that came up. So we've been sitting on it a couple episodes and I think he's just been biding his time. But now it's like, oh, so kind of now, and it also makes sense why he's such a, I mean, to be fair, it's like he's stickler for the rules. Obviously, Bill kind of not necessarily breaks, but bends the rules, so he goes in that gray area. But the fact of the matter is, it makes sense why Jerry is as obsessed, because this is something he's literally been working on for so long. He's been waiting for his chance, and Bill, because of circumstances, because some old charter, some old rule, Bill got to hijack the position he's been working for, he's been striving for, he's sacrificed for. So you can understand why he's a little bit bitter. But to be fair, under these circumstances, he shows that he is a good man in the sense that like he's not letting any of that get in the way, because he can understand what Bill's going through, and it's okay. I'm not going to get too much in your way, because he could have, he kept trying to push for it, but it's like, no, like I'm gonna let you kind of go by what you want to. But obviously, Bill goes up there to exchange for Paula. Sadly, nope, because they know, like, oh, there might be more to this, which in fact there was. So they're being used as hostages. It was pretty smart of them dressing them all up in masks and gowns so that you can't tell which one is which. I was like, that's interesting. And it took, Bill going over to Paula, dropping the mask and everything, and pulling her down. At that moment, Kay takes the shot against Rose, doesn't kill her, takes her down, and the fact of the matter is they immediately get the full control of the situation. So, like I said, I don't even want to use the word understand. You feel for like, okay, your circumstances of David was dying, you were desperate, you wanted to save him, but it kind of makes me reminds me of the movie John Q. I've not seen that in many years, but it's kind of similar to that type of situation. So, I mean, both of them are going to prison, but at least David can live now. Granted, he's going to be living his life. There's no checking off that list of those plans they had for each other. So, like I said, very Bonnie and Clyde-like. But, I mean, luckily, it's a thing of like, well, it's sad because obviously they're both going to prison. Well, him back to prison and her to prison, and they're going to be separated. So, that sucks. But it's like, I'm wondering in the end, will they say that it was worth it because David's alive? And it's like, maybe they'll be able to reunite when it's all said and done. I don't know. But luckily for Bill, his family is okay. Him and Paula go over to Maggie and hug. I even like the fact that Joseph is involved too, because that's just as much his family as his own family, So I thought that was kind of a nice touch. And Teresa there kind of, hugging Kate after, that day. So it makes you appreciate things, remembering to hold on to the people you care about. Well, it's also interesting because even Maggie had thrown this out there. It's like, did this happen to Mom because of your position? Which at the beginning, it seemed like it was more so because of who Paula is, but it's actually a combination of because of who Paula is and also who Bill is that kind of led to the circumstances. It does almost make it seem like that might be foreshadowing some stuff even further in the future of like, there will be stuff. Once again, even stuff like his dad had said last episode, people, not only cops, but even bad guys. Well, not just bad guys, but cops as well that are going to be gunning for you because of the choices you're going to have to make as sheriff, which obviously that's still going to be something I'm sure that's going to come back, at a later point in time. But it's also foreshadows like probably that whole thing of like, yeah, there are going to be people who come after Bill, who come after his family simply because he is sheriff. So, we'll see. It'll probably be people from his past, but also people just criminals in general trying to get something. So we'll see. But obviously at the end of the episode, there is this celebration, that everything did work out. Like I said, crazy Valentine's Day. Something I did notice though, like Bishop was there by herself, like, cause I think I looked away for a second, but I looked back and you just see her kind of a little down. So I'm like, I don't know if I missed something in that scene, and I probably did. But the fact that she showed up there by herself makes me wonder, did her and her girlfriend break up? Simply because, it would make sense because the last time we saw it's like she was looking in their box and stuff like that, and it's just kind of like, maybe her girlfriend wasn't willing to just to let the past go, or at least it puts them like maybe they had an argument about it. Like, cause it's just interesting because the last like shindig kind of like that, especially celebration like that, her girlfriend was there, but now she's not. So like I said, I meant to go back, but I was like, maybe I didn't miss anything, but nevertheless, everyone's kind of gathered. And you obviously see that thing of Charlie touching her necklace because, it's like, luckily everything worked out this time, but obviously she's thinking about Luna during those circumstances. But yeah, like, I mean, in general, like I said, it was just kind of neat to kind of have a very, like, powerful episode like this. And like I said, luckily, things worked out for the best, so I'm interested to see where all this kind of ends up taking us going forward, especially like now that Jerry's kind of made it clear. And I'm curious, is Bill going to fight for staying sheriff, or is he going to just be fine with it? Like I said, because that timer, that 3 months is, is ticking down. So I'm curious to see what he ends up doing in a long run. So, but obviously that's something we'll be seeing going forward into the future. So really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.